What would you do if you could access a dungeon from another world and also play with your sensei as many times as you wanted? Our hero, whose name is revealed to be Sano, looks like he's dozing off in class, but is then approached by his friend Suzumoto, who is also known as Suzu. Sano is asked about how his trip to the burial mound was over the weekend, but he doesn't look too pleased about it. He says that there were too many tourists there, which was mainly why he couldn't investigate the area like he wanted to. Suzu can see traces of Sano's detective genes lurking inside him, so he comments on the same, saying he can relate. It looks like our hero isn't a fan of his parents either, as he completely dismisses Suzu's words and says that his mom and dad aren't the best in the world. Of course, no boy would ever talk about his parents this way unless he had a good reason for it. Suzu notes that Sano always talks about his parents like this, but then our hero tries to steer the conversation away and shifts the focus to Suzu. After all, he does not want this to turn into a session about his daddy and mommy issues. Instead, Sano asks his friend how his weekend was, and he says that he made the most of it by doing unspeakable things with his girlfriend. That obviously sounds like a dream weekend, and Sano is amazed by Suzu's skills. But at the same time, he has no intention of getting his own girlfriend. It's rather surprising because boys like Sano are always chasing after girls, hoping to get some action. Suzu asks him why he's being this way, and he simply replies by saying girls take up too much of your time. If our hero were to spend all his weekends on his babes, then he would never be able to go out on adventures. This is actually a fair point, and it paints a picture of Sano being almost like an alpha male. Suzu gets what he means, but also calls Sano a fool for not wanting to indulge in basic pleasures. This is also a correct counter because intrusive thoughts never rest. He even asks our hero if he's feeling the rage and passion of his youth, to which Sano replies that he does have an interest, but not of romance. He just wants to do lewd things with girls and be done with them, because that is what his body requires. Suzu makes the most of this chance and calls out Sano for being a shady boy. He even says it out loud for the whole class to hear, so Sano asks him to control his volume. Suzu feels that Sano wants to get lucky with all the cute and curvy girls of their class, and he will never be able to maintain his focus on just one lover. One of these girls happens to be the committee president Natsuno, who is indeed a total babe. However, Suzu also notes that girls don't like it when you call them cute as if it's a public service announcement. This leads both Sano and Suzu to go on and comment on Natsuno's petite figure and her horrible attitude towards boys. They would much rather have liked her to be nicer, but then they also know that Natsuno's friend Akitsu has those qualities. In such a case, it would make a lot more sense to go after Akitsu than Natsuno. It turns out that Akitsu is cute and friendly, and also happens to be very close to Natsuno, which makes their duo a nicely balanced team. Sano feels that Akitsu has what it takes for him to enjoy adult activities with her. On that note, Suzu mentions the stylish Fukushima, who has a keen sense of style. While our hero does find her to be pretty, he also says that she doesn't have any cute or innocent qualities. Also, she doesn't smile a lot, which has led to her getting the nickname of Snow Woman. Sano admits that it's a little rude to call a girl that name even if she doesn't have much charm, but then Suzu takes it a step further and says that her body isn't curvy at all. Sano tries to keep Suzu from giving in to his intrusive thoughts, but then the most popular girl in class makes her way inside. The boys can't control their emotions as their homeroom teacher enters the room and asks everyone to settle down. She is shown to be the cutest of them all, and she begins her class by addressing Natsuno. The boys can only think of doing unspeakable things to their teacher, but Sano also says that it would be better if his sensei wore something other than jersey clothes. After all, it would give her a lot more appeal and an added touch of grace. Now, before we move any further into the story, it's time for a flashback. Here, we see Seino, who is saying goodbye to his parents, both of whom are going on an adventure. Seeing them had inspired our hero to become just like his mom and dad. But from the looks of it, this was the last time he ever saw their faces. Even though he constantly told his parents that he wanted to become like them, they would simply ask him to stay at home and take care of it while they were out having fun. As it so happened, this particular memory might have been the start of Seino's lonely nature. This is because his parents keep traveling, and it's been 10 whole years since Seino has had to deal with this kind of behavior. However, this did not stop him from achieving his goals, and he too set out to become an adventurer just like his parents. It led to him training his physical strength and even receiving the best grades in school just for the sake of having a track record. Of course, this was never going to be enough because the most important thing was to go on an adventure first. Now, we're back to the present where Seino is entering his house, but then he starts to feel odd. There's a sense of faintness in his head and he has no idea what's going on. Our hero spaces out to a complete moment of darkness, and when he opens his eyes again, he finds himself inside some kind of dungeon. He looks around, trying to make sense of the situation, and reasons to himself by saying he's just in the basement of his own house. He tries to check out the place, but this doesn't look like his place at all, which makes him doubt his surroundings. After a bit of looking around, Seino opens a secret door and is shocked to see a whole passage right in front of his eyes. He is clueless as to why he's here and doesn't understand what's going on. He is sure that his basement looks nothing like this, as it is only used for storage. As a matter of fact, he is trying to figure if he has been reincarnated in another world. His parents are abroad, so there's no way for him to contact them, and our hero is only left with the option of calling the cops or the fire department. However, Seino just feels that he's in a weird dream, so maybe all of this will end when he wakes up. Just as he thinks this, a notebook shows up in front of him and catches his attention. He picks it up and feels an odd surge of energy rushing through his body, after which he notices a symbol on his hand. Seino suspects something fishy, and it isn't long before he sees the notebook opening up to an ominous note. It's safe to say that he's not at home anymore, but rather in a labyrinth from another world. The text on the notebook says that it will guide our hero through this maze by using the guidance from the walls. With no other option, Seino decides to feel the vibe of the dungeon, and is able to sense that there are various levels to it. Since there are high and low levels, it's important for him to check his own power by looking at the palm of his right hand. He also tells us that he can check the power levels of other people and even monsters just by closing one of his eyes. By touching the walls of this labyrinth, our hero is able to tell us everything about this place. The term LV is used to indicate levels for monsters, but for humans, it's meant to mean love. It's all the same at the end of the day, but it's important to note that monsters can grow stronger through fights and battles. We can see that our hero has a new knife, and his outfit has changed as well, which means that he's totally in to get this adventure started. Of course, Seino would like to know why this is the case, but then he stumbles across some more information. Basically, he can gain access to 3 treasure chests on every floor. These chests will give him all kinds of magic tools which he can use even outside the labyrinths and dungeons. The best part is that these treasure chests refill every year, so Seino can get his magic tools as many times as he wants. The trick is that he will need to gain a few levels for the magic tools to be usable. This dungeon is more like a video game because the rules dictate that the damage received here will go away once you exit the labyrinth. Also, if the damage goes beyond a certain level, Sano will simply be taken to the entrance and lose all the magic tools he gathered during this trip, just like a checkpoint. The main rule is to get as many magic tools as possible and take minimum damage to survive the adventure. With this, our hero closes the notebook and feels a sense of ambition. He realizes that this is his chance to become an adventurer, just like his parents. He begins his journey by walking into the dungeon, and can already feel the wind blowing to the back. Sano wonders if he's under the house next to his own, but it gets confirmed that the dungeon is actually in his own basement. Time passes by, and our hero has walked quite a bit, but he hasn't come across any monsters or treasure chests. It makes him wonder if the notebook was just filled with nonsense, but then he finally locates a chamber. He takes a close look, and to his pleasant surprise, he has finally come across a treasure chest. He wants to take a good look at it and tries to look for the key, but notices that the chest is not locked. He opens the treasure chest and feels a sense of victory in his first accomplishment. But this is just the start of a rather tricky situation. All of a sudden, a monster tree shows up behind him and strikes him down with a slash attack. Sano falls to the floor and loses his senses for a bit, but then he manages to get back up. He is at a loss for words when he sees the giant tree monster in front of him, because he thinks it's weird for a tree to be planted in a dungeon. He soon realizes that the beast is moving and it's not a typical plant that he would find in a garden. The tree monster spares no mercy as it lashes out at our hero and strikes him one more time. Sano is confused at first, but figures that the beast is trying to protect the treasure from him. Soon enough, he feels an odd sensation in his face and fears losing to the tree monster in his first attempt. Luckily, he remembers all the times that people doubted his abilities and reduced him to just another normal student. This is all it takes for Sano to let go of all his doubts and face the monster with an open heart. He takes out his knife and unleashes a flurry of attacks on the monster without any hesitation. It's a rather furious display of strength as Sano doesn't hold back in his total decimation of the tree monster. Our hero is able to land so many blows in so little time that the tree monster completely disintegrates after receiving the finisher move. It was a long battle that tired out Sano for a bit, but he has become the winner and can proudly lay claim to his treasure. He decides to take this treasure home with him because even if the labyrinth were to disappear tomorrow, he can at least enjoy what he has earned right now. Our hero checks out the treasure chest and finds a candle inside, much to his surprise. He then reads a note that has come with the candle which says that it's a night calling tool which can help him with girls. Basically, upon lighting this candle, girls will lose control of their passion and act on their intrusive thoughts. This is good news for Sano, but the note also says that he can only use this candle when inside a room, and on top of that, he can only use it once. That's good enough for our hero, and then we see him in school the next day, which means that he's still in this world. Suzu can see that his buddy is smiling non-stop, so he asks him what's the matter. Suzu wonders if something good has happened with Sano, but our hero realizes that he's giving too much away in his actions. Also, he needs to check out the dungeon again because there are way too many questions that he needs answers to. In order to do this properly, he will need to level up, and for that, he will need to use the wingman candle. The only problem here is that he will need to choose a partner with whom he can do what he has never done before. He has a nice variety of girls to choose from, but each of them is cute and pretty in their own way, so it's hard for Sano to make an easy pick. After class, our hero decides that it would be best to go for someone with experience, so he asks one of his classmates where his sensei is. Her name is revealed to be Harumaki or Haru, and we see her in office looking pretty as ever. She is shocked to see Sano here, because he's not the type to come for advice after classes are done. He tells his sensei that he wants her advice on something, and it looks like our hero is finally going to go where no man has gone before. However, we end on a bit of a bummer because he says that his parents have not paid his fees for the next year. Of course, this is also a valid issue, but it feels odd to see Seino not giving in to his intrusive thoughts. Haru is confused upon hearing this, because Seino's parents should not have any issues when it comes to money. The problem though is that they have spent so much money on useless water diving equipment that there's not enough left to spend on tuition. Seino begs her to talk to his parents so that they don't end up wasting their cash on things like this. Haru wants to help her student, so she offers to come home and talk to his mom and dad. She even takes the consent of her vice principal for an early day off, and that's when we learn that Seino is a very sly playboy. Haru and Seino reach his house, but his parents are obviously not there, so it confuses the sensei. She asks Seino where his mom and dad are, so he thinks of a quick excuse and says that they haven't come back from their adventure yet. He convinces Haru to wait for a bit, and she's fine with it, because the conversation will anyway be a little awkward. Seino is glad to see how well his plan is working, so he asks Haru to have a seat while he goes to get sweets that taste like tea. As he walks up the stairs, our hero decides to use his magic candle to the test and see if it's actually worth the risk. He comes back with the sweets and the candle, which catches Haru's eyes. She asks about it, so Seino says that it's an aroma candle that his mom got back as a collector's item. He smooth talks his way around the candle and goes on to light it with Haru's permission. He is excited to see what happens next, but the fire is light and looks like it's about to go out almost instantly. It's not exactly what Seino was hoping for, but he's fine with the magic not working, as he didn't believe in it much. However, his body starts to feel hot all of a sudden and he tries to control himself. He looks over to Haru and can see that she's feeling the same thing as well. Haru looks like she's going to explode any minute and even starts to show her body in order to feel more comfortable. She asks Seino if she can come closer to him and he says yes instantly. Our hero has all kinds of nasty thoughts going through his mind as Haru crawls up to him with lewd intentions. She asks him if he has been feeling lonely, because he's at an age where he needs a lot of action. Seino tries to play it cool and asks Haru what she would do if he were to admit that he was lonely. This makes Haru say that she is his sensei and it's her duty to fulfill his desires. With that, she attacks Seino's mouth and gives him a taste of dessert before the main course. He tries to control himself and even brings out the point that he is her student, so what they're doing is wrong. This only excites Haru further, so she says that Seino doesn't need to worry about anything. She is ready to do all the work for him, so Seino says yes without any further constraints. He has nailed his mission and is finally going to do it with his sensei, so this is a bigger achievement to him than defeating the tree monster. What follows is a session full of passion and lewd activities. Haru is happy to have taken care of her student, but then she wants to go another round with him. Eventually, the candle's flame runs out and both of them come back to their senses. Haru has no idea what just happened, so Seino tells her it's best to keep this a secret between the both of them. She agrees to it because she might lose her job as a teacher if the other students were to find out about the unspeakable things she has done with her own pupil. Seino tells Haru that he will deal with his parents, and she should go back home, which is exactly what happens. Before leaving, Haru says sorry to Seino and leaves his place, leaving our hero alone to cherish what he has just done. He takes a look at his level to see if the notebook was correct, and to his pleasant surprise, his level has increased to 5. This is good news for him, but it has come at a cost, and he needs to be more careful in the future. However, he doesn't care if he has to do it with all the girls in his school. because it is his new mission to complete the dungeon and become a true adventurer. With that, he goes back to the labyrinth and begins his next task. As he enters the dungeon, Seino thinks back to the nasty things he had done with his sensei. If those lewd acts were good enough to take him to level 5, then he needs to test out how much progress he has made. He had taken a right turn the other day, so now he decides to go left. Since he has 2 other treasure chests to take, Seino learns that the monsters on this floor range from level 1 to level 5, so he needs to be alert if he wants to get all the treasure chests. In order to get the job done properly, he needs to map out this floor because GPS and radio methods don't work here. Luckily for him, the labyrinth is quite easy to walk through, and there are torches on the walls at every interval, so it's not a complex task. We learn that time passes by the same way in the dungeon as it does in the real world, so it looks like the dungeon is in a different dimension that's separated from the real world. This explains why the place is so wide, but there's no time to talk about such things as our hero comes across a giant mouse. He wonders if it's friendly at first, but quickly realizes that in this dungeon, beasts like this one are all monsters. Seino gets ready to take it on, but first he checks out the level of the monster mouse. It appears to be only of level 1, so the fight should be an easy one. However, the mouse has some tricks of its own. It rolls into a ball and spins at a rapid speed to try and attack Seino, but he manages to take it down after blocking the attack and landing a sharp blow. He manages to do it in just 1 strike, which means that his loving session with Haru did have its benefits. Seino continues to look around the place and is shocked to see how vast the floor is. If the first floor is so big, then he can only imagine what the others are going to be like. However, he stops thinking about these things when he notices a small room. He walks into the room and notices another treasure chest inside it. Seino looks around to confirm if there are any monsters over here, but he can't find even one. He proceeds to open the chest, but notices that there's a plant wrapped around it. At first, it looks like a pretty blue rose, but when Seino comes closer towards it, he is attacked by the flower, which turns out to be a deadly monster. What's worse is that it's a level 5 monster, which means our hero has his work cut out for him. Of course, he knows that opening treasure chests will not be an easy walk in the park, so he charges at the rose monster with his knife. An intense battle follows, as Seino slashes at the beast with all his skills, but the rose monster uses its thorns to slow him down. Our hero takes note of this, so he tries to find a way to get past this issue. He notices that the rose monster likes to stick to his jacket, so he comes up with a plan and takes it off. He then places the jacket on top of the beast, which puts it in a difficult spot as it's unable to move now. Seino uses this advantage and stabs the monster as many times as he can. He has to put in some effort, but is eventually able to come out on top. Of course, his jacket gets damaged in the process, but he knows that it will recover when he gets out of the dungeon. With the danger finally evaded, Seino decides to open the treasure chest, and he finds a folding umbrella inside it. This is a rather odd treasure, so he picks up the note and learns that it's called a fate-experiencing umbrella. Basically, if a girl were to come under this umbrella with Seino, then she will fall in love with him. The longer she stays under the umbrella, the stronger she will feel for him. The good thing about this is that Seino can use the umbrella as many times as he wants, but then again, he can't directly raise his level with it. After all, love may not lead to unspeakable acts. Anyway, our hero decides to carry on, even though he has experienced some damage because of the rose monster. He walks around for a bit and comes across another tree monster, just like the one from the previous day. It looks angry, so our hero thinks about taking it on, but then he sees that it's a level 5 beast, so he decides not to take the risk right now. After all, he also has the love umbrella, so he could lose it if he takes too much damage from the tree. With that, Seino goes back home and resumes with his normal life at school. Suzu sees him and notices something different about the way he is looking and even walking. It makes him wonder if Seino has changed. And the one thing that comes to his mind is that his friend has now found a girlfriend. However, Seino says that isn't the case, which confuses Suzu, because Seino definitely looks like he's become a man now. Our hero's behavior seems a bit shady to Suzu, and he also asks him where his umbrella is, because the forecast says that it's going to rain today. This news seems to bother the girls, especially Natsuno, who had overslept the previous night. Suzu hears Akitsu chatting with Natsuno and teases them about not being prepared for the rain. Natsuno doesn't like the sound of his tone, so she tells him not to bother her and her friend. Seino takes this chance to be polite to the girls, so he greets them with a good morning. The girls also greet him nicely, so Suzu asks for a cute greeting as well. However, he didn't say it the same way as Seino, so Natsuno tells him that he's been a naughty boy. Even Seino joins in on the fun, and it makes Suzu question his own friend. It's time for class, and Haru steps in, but she makes sure to act as calm as she can, even though her lover boy is right in front of her eyes. Seino notices this, and is glad that Haru is able to behave with so much control, almost as if they never did all the nasty things that happened the previous day. It does look like Haru is blushing a bit upon seeing Seino, so she quickly asks Natsuno to carry out the morning salute routine. She follows her sensei's orders and instructs the class to follow her lead. This gives Haru a chance to calm herself down. Somehow, Haru manages to collect herself, and then she talks about returning the midterm sheets. Seino sees this and feels proud that he was able to have such a strong effect on his own teacher. Soon enough, it starts to rain and our hero begins with his plan. Natsuno doesn't like the look of the rain, but Seino has already set his eyes on her. She gets called out by Haru to meet her after class, so Seino decides to wait for her under the excuse that he forgot his umbrella. Natsuno comes back to class and is surprised to see our hero still here. He tells her that he had forgotten his umbrella, so he's waiting for the rain to stop. However, Natsuno simply tells him goodbye and walks away. Our hero is shocked to hear this because Natsuno has also forgotten her umbrella. He chases after her to see what's up, and finds her with Akitsu, who has been waiting for her. It turns out that both the girls are neighbors, which is why it's easier for them to go back home with each other. He admits defeat and is ready to go back home alone, but then he gets caught by the girls. Natsuno can see his love umbrella and is a bit confused, but then he explains to her that he had forgotten that he'd put it in his bag. This makes Akitsu blush, and then she tells Natsuno that she has a rare chance now that no one is looking. Natsuno is a little shy, but Atsuki asks her to go with Seino under his umbrella. Our hero hears this and is surprised that he has found an unlikely ally in Atsuki. Of course, Natsuno is not ready to do this by herself, so Atsuki pushes her towards Seino and says that they can switch after they reach the grocery store. With that, Atsuki pushes ahead, so even Seino and Natsuno decide to walk with her. Our hero finally has the chance to see how effective his love umbrella is, and he opens it for his latest target. Suddenly, Natsuno has a strange feeling in her heart, so Seino asks her if all is well. She brushes it off for now, but admits that she had an odd throbbing in her heart. This gives Seino a lot of hope, and he wishes for his umbrella to do its thing soon. However, Akitsu turns back and mentions that her umbrella is bigger than Seino's, so it would make sense for them to switch for now. This is bad news for Seino, so he tries to convince Akitsu that he's fine like this. Of course, Akitsu is just saying this because she feels that the couple will get wet in the rain. Puts our hero in a spot and he has no idea what to say next. He won't be able to do anything with Natsuno if they switch umbrellas, and it looks like his game is finally over. However, Natsuno turns the tables for him by telling Akitsu that her umbrella has flower patterns on it. No man in his right mind would want to hold such an umbrella, so it makes sense for Seino not to do the switch. Our hero is relieved by this and manages to smooth things out with the girls. He is glad that his plan is very much still alive, but also wonders why Akitsu is being so playful. He doesn't care about that for now because he wants to get with Natsuno at the moment and can soon get Akitsu under his love umbrella as well. It's almost as if he has the luck of a god, so he makes the most of it and walks with Natsuno. As expected, the couple is a little awkward, so Akitsu points it out and says that they need to be more lovey-dovey with each other. Seino is shocked to hear such words coming out of her mouth, but Natsuno tells him that Akitsu likes to speak that way, especially when she's excited. Akitsu adds to her words by saying she likes to enjoy things to their fullest, and she doesn't even trouble anyone in the process. Natsuno doesn't seem to feel that way, but she quickly changes the topic because she doesn't want Seino to think that she doesn't care about him. She goes on to say that she's never been with a man under an umbrella, and it makes Seino confident that his love tool is doing the trick. Natsuno is not behaving like her usual self at all, and she tries to act cute with Seino by saying he's probably being forced to do this with her. He plays it smart and says that he was actually hoping for this chance because he wanted to talk to her for a while. Natsuno tries to play it off as a friendly thing, but our hero knows that he can score if he ticks all the right areas. He decides to bring out the big guns and asks Natsuno if she's going out with anyone. She blushes and says no, but also asks Seino why he asked her this question. Our hero tells her that it's strange for a girl like her not to have a lover because she's very cute. This sets Natsuno off in a frenzy, and she says that she's not as cute as he thinks she is. Of course, this is a strong sign that she's fallen in love with him, and it's a bonus point for Seino. Akitsu is also there watching it all unfold, and she's glad that something interesting has come out of all this tension. Natsuno can't stop blushing, but then the trio reaches the grocery store, so it's time to switch. Akitsu is ready to team up with Seino now, and Natsuno has to deal with being alone. Our hero is glad that he gets to use his love umbrella on two cute girls, and soon enough, even Akitsu falls for him. As a matter of fact, she becomes so affected that she holds Seino's arm and says that she's his girlfriend now. Our hero acts shy and tells Akitsu that she's being a bit too dramatic, but secretly. But then Akitsu asks him how he was able to make Natsuno fall in love with him so soon. She wonders if he is a god who can girls fall for him instantly. But then she mentions that he might be hiding a deep dark secret within his umbrella. The shady look on Akitsu's face sure feels like she herself is hiding something that our hero doesn't know about. Seino is a bit surprised to hear her say this, and Akitsu even mentions that it could be the reason why he didn't want to switch umbrellas with her. Our hero wonders if Akitsu knows about the effects of his love umbrella, but then he uses his brains and realizes that she would have stepped away from the magical tool even if it meant getting wet in the rain. This could only mean that Akitsu has a hunch and is acting on it. She goes a step further and tells Seino that she'll let him touch her body if he tells her the secret behind the umbrella. Our hero just gives her a neutral look, and then she snaps out of it because this was a rather bold thing to say. This gives Seino some proof that Akitsu only had some suspicion about the umbrella and didn't know the truth. Now that the love effects are taking over her body, she won't be able to make calm and composed decisions moving forward. He decides to deflect the topic for some time so that the umbrella can completely take over Akitsu. Natsuno just watches the couple from behind as Seino tells Akitsu that his umbrella is quite normal. Akitsu cutely asks him if she can hold the umbrella, and this puts Seino in a tricky spot. However, Natsuno won't allow this to happen because she has laundry at home and needs to get back as soon as possible. Of course, it could also be that she's jealous of Akitsu, who just doesn't want to let go of Seino. Eventually, Natsuno grabs Akitsu from behind and drags her home before things start to heat up between her and Seino. Now, the girls reach home and Seino can see that they are very close neighbors. Natsuno says goodbye with love, as does Akitsu, but she wants to have a chat with Seino the next time they see each other. Our hero is glad that he was saved by Natsuno earlier, but he needs to be careful around Akitsu. He gets ready for the dungeon again, and realizes that he needs to get more treasure items soon, or else he won't be able to increase his level. It's time to find the final treasure chest of the first floor, and Seino figures that he needs to check the inner sections of the dungeon, since he's only been focusing on the outer borders so far. All of a sudden, he comes across a giant raccoon monster which growls at him with rage. Seino takes a look and identifies it to be a level 4 beast, which is not too bad, but also means that he'll have to take some damage. This monster is much bigger than the mouse he fought earlier, so he needs to end this within 2 or 3 blows. Now, Seino slowly approaches the raccoon monster from behind and is surprised that it hasn't noticed him yet. He takes his chance and lands his knife into its skull, thus ending it with one simple blow. Our hero is shocked that he was able to take down such a beast with a single move, but carries on because he's almost done exploring the whole floor. It doesn't take long before he finds the final treasure chest. Seino is at the finishing line, but finds another raccoon monster guarding the treasure chest, which proves that each treasure comes with a monster guard. A sneak attack won't be possible here, so our hero has no choice but to go at the beast with all his might. The raccoon is ready for a fight, but Seino manages to strike it in a vital point, and this is good enough to take it down with a single blow yet again. Seino is impressed that he's able to deal so much damage this way, but also notes that it can get dangerous for him if he only aims for vital points. Our hero hopes that he'll get a tool like the candle, which will help him get instant action from the girls. Also, he doesn't know how to move to the next floor, so he's hoping for clues as well. Upon opening the treasure chest, he finds a small bottle, which is called craving extract. Seino thinks there's something shady about this bottle and proceeds to check the note. What he learns is that the extract will make girls want to drink his bodily fluids after consuming a certain amount. This makes his intrusive thoughts run amok once again, and then we shift to the school setting in the real world. In class, Seino notices that Natsuno's feelings towards him are still very strong, but Akitsu hasn't changed much at all. He thinks that he should use the craving extract on Natsuno because she is an easier target, but he also needs to be careful of Akitsu, who now thinks he's a shady guy. He decides against using it on Haru, because his sensei has already done a lot of service to him. The only girl left is Fukushima, so he figures she can be his next mate. Seino walks up to her and asks if she can help him out with some numbers, since she's a class topper. Fukushima agrees to it, and our hero's plan sets itself into action. The both of them start discussing some math problems, and Natsuno gets jealous upon seeing this. However, Akitsu tells her it's time to go home, so Seino can breathe easy for a bit. Akitsu does wave goodbye to Seino while leaving, which makes him a little uneasy, but then he gets back to his math problems. After some time, Fukushima gets done with her lessons and Seino is pleased by her efforts. He wants to reward her with a drink, but she says that she doesn't need it. Of course, Seino isn't gonna let her off so easy, so he insists on getting her something to drink. He gets out of the classroom and comments that this is a little harder than he had expected, but he shouldn't back off so easily. Sano reads the text once again and learns that he will need to use at least 10 ml of the craving extract to get the job done. The bottle itself has only 30 ml, so he needs to make the most of it. Our hero isn't one to take any undue chances, so he had made sure to inject 20 ml of the extract into a bottle for this very purpose. He enters the classroom again with the bottle and gives it to Fukushima. He explains that the vending machine wasn't working properly, so the bottle's a little warm, but Fukushima doesn't mind, so she starts drinking from the bottle. Our hero looks at her with shady eyes, knowing very well that his plan is coming along quite nicely. Fukushima ends up drinking the whole bottle, and the effects start to hit her almost instantly. This is good news for Sano, as she tells him that she's feeling very thirsty. He offers to get her another bottle, but she doesn't want that kind of drink. She says that she wants to drink Sano's fluids and approaches him with passion. Of course, such a statement is quite bold in itself, but the fact that Fukushima is saying it without any shame is what makes our hero feel a bit odd. At the end of the day, Fukushima is not known for being a very expressive girl, so the craving extract can't change that. Our hero simply says that he doesn't mind it because he wants to thank her for her study notes. He unzips his and gets ready for some heaven on earth, but Fukushima is a little confused. She doesn't know how to get the fluids out of his body, so he explains the process and the motion to her. Fukushima does as she's told, and our hero's plan succeeds once again. It doesn't take long for her to get what she's thirsting after, and Sano is pleased with the results, but this was just one load. Since she has had enough extract to crave for 2, she requests one more session. Sano thinks it will be difficult for him to generate his fluids so quickly, so he instructs Fukushima to and use her for better results. Our hero wants to check how effective the craving extract is, so he suggests doing the same thing that he done with Haru. However, Fukushima is not too keen on this, so the extract only works with the mouth and the hands. It's fair enough for Sano, because the note did not promise anything extra. Anyway, Fukushima goes all the way and our hero is shocked to see how effective his commands can be while using these magic tools. It's time to get down to business, but Fukushima needs some guidance on how to use her as well. Sano gives her some effective suggestions, and it doesn't take long for him to give her what she desires. After the session is completed, Fukushima wears her clothes and says that she's going home, but doesn't show any kind of shyness. Sano is taken aback by this, but thanks her for her services anyway. Fukushima acts so cool about the whole thing that it almost feels as if she wanted to do it in the first place. Sano wonders what kind of mental state she must be living in, but he doesn't have time for such thoughts. He takes a look at the palm of his hand and can see that his level has increased to 7 now. This is not as much as what he had gotten from Haru, but this was a different kind of act as well. Sano realizes that he can increase his level by any kind of act, and it doesn't have to involve home base. However, he also wonders if his levels increase because of the fact that he's using a magical tool, or because of the act itself. It's a valid thought because he can plan his next moves accordingly, but then the doorbell rings and he goes to check it out. Sano thinks it's a delivery boy, but to his surprise, it's his sensei Haru who is blushing just upon seeing his face. Sano asks her what she's doing here, but first she asks if she can come in, because she doesn't want to be seen by anyone in the area. Our hero lets her inside and then she apologizes for showing up so suddenly. Haru can see that Sano is wearing his adventure suit, so she asks what's up with that. Our hero feels awkward and says that he's trying to practice for a mission he has on the weekend. Haru thinks this is cute, and she says that Sano really wants to be like his parents. At the same time, she also asks him not to overdo it because he might get hurt as a result. Haru then asks if Seino's parents are around, but he says that they've gone out on an adventure. He also says that he spoke to them about the fees, so it's been sorted as of now. Of course, this is all just a big lie, but Haru is pleased to hear her lover boy's words. An awkward silence follows, so Seino offers to get some tea for his sensei. However, she asks him to sit down because she's not here for tea. She bows down to Seino and says sorry for all the lewd things she did to him the other day. Our hero tells her it's fine and he too is to blame for letting it happen. However, Haru says that it's her mistake because she crossed a line between student and teacher that she should not have done. She then tells Seino that he can punish her however he likes. She offers to quit her job and even offers him money for what she did to him, which is a dream come true for a boy in a normal situation. Seino feels bad about what he has done with his sensei, so he tells her that she has nothing to be sorry about. He says that she's a good teacher and the students at the school would feel lonely if she was to quit her job. Haru is happy to hear this and thanks her lover boy for his kind words, and proceeds to take her leave after that. She once again says that she's sorry for barging in like this, and hopes to see Seino in school the next day. This makes our hero feel terrible about what he's done with Haru, and he decides not to do shady things with her by using the magic tools. As he reflects on his past actions, he notices that he didn't hear anything after Haru left the room. As a matter of fact, her shows are still here as well, which can only mean one thing. Seino panics and looks for his sensei, but it's too late as he finds her right outside the entrance to the dungeon. She is shocked to see this and demands to know what it's doing in Seino's basement. Our hero is at a loss for words and doesn't know what to say that can make this situation any better for him. Of course, he can always try his magical tools, but that isn't going to do him any good over here. As Seino tries to figure out what to deceive Haru, a dark force comes from the dungeon and lures her inside. He takes his knife and runs after his sensei, but she's too far ahead, so he needs to catch up as soon as he can. Haru is acting weird and isn't responding to what Seino is telling her. Suddenly, she comes across some stairs that were most definitely not here back when our hero was scouting the floor. Seino figures that this must be the entrance to the second floor, so he rushes after Haru because the monsters here will be stronger than before. Of course, he wouldn't want his sensei to run into any monsters in the first place, but it's a bit too late for that by the time he reaches her. Seino offers to explain everything to Haru, but she is a bit distracted by the giant pumpkin monster in front of her. This is not good news for Seino, but then he notices a treasure chest next to the monster and realizes that they're in a small room. This is a rather surprising revelation for our hero. Normally, finding these rooms would be a pain, but the fact that Haru led Seino straight to it makes him wonder if she knew of its location right from the start. That shouldn't be true, because Haru has never been to the dungeon before, but then Seino wonders if she was possessed by something. In fact, he had also been taken to this labyrinth the exact same way. Now is not the time to be thinking about detective mysteries, so Seino tells Haru to back away and hide for now. She has no idea what's going on, but Seino tells her to run away because he has to deal with the pumpkin monster first. Our hero takes a look at the beast and learns that it's a level 10 monster, which is bad news for him. He might be good for a beginner, but he hasn't exactly become a proper monster hunter yet. Either way, he has to try his best, so he charges at it with his knife, hoping to beat it. Seino lands a couple of blows, but he then gets hit by a pumpkin seed which causes some damage to his body. He tries to go full force at the beast once again, but he is reckless with his attacks and ends up getting entangled by the pumpkin monster. Our hero is trapped, so he tries to come up with a means of escape. Sano is in a tricky spot right now, and he tries to cut himself free, but it's taking him too much time to make it happen. It looks like he's going to face his first loss against a monster. But then, in a sudden turn of events, Haru shows up with a torch and distracts the beast. This gives our hero enough time to cut himself loose, and then Haru tells him to run away while he still can. However, the torch is fading away, so Sano needs to strike now, otherwise he won't get a better shot. He finds the monster's vital point and goes for it at full strength, leaving no stone unturned. His finisher move works wonders, and he is able to destroy the pumpkin monster successfully. Sano is glad that he was able to defeat the monster, but he's quite tired and has Haru to thank for distracting the beast. He turns to his sensei, who hugs him tightly out of concern. Sano drops his knife and enjoys the hug, but Haru scolds him for not running away when he had the chance to do so. He tells her that she's worrying too much about this, because he would have just been sent back to the checkpoint. With no loss of life at risk, it made sense for our hero to take his chance against the pumpkin monster. However, what stands out to him the most is that this hug from his sensei feels different from the hug Haru gave him when she wanted his body. It feels so nostalgic to our hero, because nobody has ever cared for him like this in a long time. It's almost as if he is finally getting the affection he was denied by his parents while growing up. Haru asks Sano if he's even listening to her, and he says he can hear her loud and clear. Haru is still mad about the whole thing regarding the dungeon, but also wants to know about the pumpkin monster. Sano knows that he can't lie to her anymore now that the whole dungeon has been exposed to his sensei. He decides to tell her everything once they've calmed down and exited the dungeon. But first, he needs to take his treasure. Sano opens the chest and finds a small bell with a note. Haru wants to know what this is, but then the bell rings and she is put into a paralyzed state. Our hero is confused and panicked at first, so he reads the note and learns that it's a nightmare-inducing bell which has the ability to put people in a dreamlike state. This gives him a lot of clarity, but it also means that he is going to turn into a regularly shady boy. Basically, upon ringing the bell, Haru has been put to sleep, and she will not be able to remember what happens for the next 15 minutes. At the same time, anything that does happen in this duration will become a strong part of her subconscious mind. Essentially, this bell will be able to allow Sano to brainwash his own sensei into becoming his personal slave girl. This is great news for Sano, because now he can manipulate his sensei into letting him use the dungeon without telling anyone about it. He also manages to convince her that he's in love with her and proceeds to do unspeakable things once again. After he is done with his mission, he dresses up Haru once again, and then they step out of the maze as if nothing happened between them just now. She is still a bit hazy over what happened during the paralyzed state, but Sano explains the dungeon's logic to her. He says that there's a lot that even he doesn't understand, but makes sure to hide the facts about the magic tools. As expected, ignorance is bliss over here, but Sano has clearly moved on to the dark side. Haru is not sure what to make of this, especially because Sano's parents are not around, but she does agree to keep the whole thing a secret. It's not like a lot of people would believe her anyway. She tells Sano not to go into the dungeon again, and he's fine with that, but we all know it's just a lie to appease his sensei. He intends to continue with these missions and become the ultimate shady boy in his town. However, the next day in school, our hero worries that he won't be able to go to the dungeon again because Haru was quite strict when she spoke to him. He briefly believes it's almost as if the bell didn't have any effect, but then Haru walks into class dressed like a cute schoolgirl, which makes everyone's jaws drop. The way she greets everyone is also exactly the kind of way you would want a cute girl to speak to you. At the same time, it opens up a whole bunch of questions for our hero.
Seeing Haru dressed up like this would do a number on any man of culture, but Natsuno wants to know why her sensei has dressed in such an alluring manner. She says that she just wanted to mix things up a bit because she was getting bored of the same old outfit. Seino figures it's best not to provide his input on this, but then Haru asks the class if it is strange for her to wear this costume. The boys sure have no problem with it at all, and they say that their sensei is looking gorgeous right now. Of course, our shady hero takes a look at Haru and gives her a smile which makes her blush. Haru ducks down out of embarrassment, and Seino feels maybe she'll forgive him for the dungeon if he compliments her looks. Later, Seino goes to meet Haru in the staff room and asks if they can talk about the dungeon. Haru says no, but our hero insists that he won't take up much of her time. Haru is seen blushing again, and she writes down something for Seino to see. She does not want to talk out loud because of the embarrassment of doing shady things with her student. Seino complies and communicates by writing that he wants Haru to reconsider sending him to the dungeon. The curvy sensei says that she can allow Seino to go to the dungeon, but only if he takes her along with him. After all, it's a teacher's job to make sure her student is safe, but at this rate, Seino will need to use a different kind of protection with Haru. Seino tells his sensei that this will be dangerous, but she argues that it's for that very reason why she can't let him go alone. If Seino does not wish to take Haru along with him, then she won't allow him to go to the dungeon either. This presents a tricky situation to our hero, so he figures he might as well take Haru along to keep their secret safe. This will also help Seino with leveling up, so he asks Haru when she can come over to his place. The curvy sensei is free tonight, so Seino is looking forward to his next adventure with her. As he leaves the staff room, our hero laments that he will need to be careful moving forward with Haru. After all, he can't afford to let her know about his magic and his leveling skills. Suddenly, the annoying Akitsu shows up and greets Seino, but he knows she spells trouble. She asks him if he had any business with Haru, to which Seino says that he only had something small to talk about. Akitsu says that Haru is now a lot prettier than earlier because of the way she is dressing. It's almost as if she is a maiden who has fallen in love, but Seino is not going to reveal anything to his opponent, so he casually plays along. Akitsu says that it feels as if Seino has something to do with Haru's change in behavior, but then she says she's just joking, although it's safe to say she's trying to be like the Riddler. She then asks Seino how things went with Fuyashima, but our hero has to be careful, so he says they only studied together. Akitsu pries for more information, but she confesses that Fuyashima hasn't really changed her behavior. This means her assumptions regarding Fuyashima were wrong. Seino does not want to stay here any longer, so he makes an excuse to leave, but Akitsu asks him to wait. She says that she does not mind if Seino is engaging in shady activities with multiple girls, but if Natsuno were to get dragged into this intrusive affair, then she will never forgive him. At this very moment, Natsuno herself shows up and asks Akitsu if she would like to go for lunch. She notices Seino leaving, so she asks Akitsu what she was talking to him about. The suspicious cutie tells Natsuno that it's a secret, but she is proving to be an obstacle for Seino. He has to do something about her before she rats him out, but then again, he does not really know enough about Akitsu to come up with a solution. Later, he goes to Natsuno, who is by the lockers, and asks her why she's alone. She says that Akitsu had to go home because she had some plans that didn't involve her bestie. Seino offers to walk Natsuno home, but this is mainly because he wants to use this opportunity to learn more about Akitsu. There's also the fact that he will be able to raise his level with Natsuno as well, so the couple heads out together. Seino decides to play a risky hand and he asks Natsuno if she would like to come over to his place. As expected, this makes her blush, but she agrees to come along because she does have some intrusive thoughts for our hero. The couple reaches home and then Natsuno has a seat. She can't believe that she is at Seino's house, and then she asks him where his parents are. He says that they've gone on an adventure, so he's actually been living by himself for a while. Natsuno feels that they're the same because of this situation, but she doesn't elaborate when Seino asks her about it. Seino decides to go get some tea, but this is only an excuse for him to utilize what's left of the craving extract. Of course, if Natsuno's memories remain intact, then she will spill the beans to Akitsu, and our hero can't have that happening. He will have no other choice but to use the nightmare bell to make her forget everything while also increasing his level. Now, Seino comes back with the tea, but remembers that he has to ask Natsuno about Akitsu before he begins with his plan. He tells Natsuno that he has observed how close she is to Akitsu and also points out that they are neighbors. Natsuno agrees and says that they have been close right from kindergarten. This makes them as close as family, which explains why Akitsu is so protective of Natsuno. Seino now says that there's something weird about Akitsu, and he has sensed this for a while. Natsuno only says that Akitsu is a bit aloof in the head, but then she realizes that Seino could be saying this because of what happened with the umbrella incident. Our hero realizes that Natsuno is not going to be revealing a lot based on her current behavior. However, at this very moment, she says that she feels Seino and Akitsu are quite similar to each other. Naturally, our hero is taken aback by this, but Natsuno says that Akitsu is a really nice girl, so he should try to get along with her. Seino plays along, but this is nothing close to what he had hoped to gain from Natsuno about Akitsu. Anyway, it doesn't look like he's going to gain a lot more from her, so he decides it's time to raise his level. He takes the nightmare bell and then approaches Natsuno in extremely shady fashion, making her wonder what's up. Seino then rings the bell to put her in a state of trance, and with that, the bell disappears from his hands. This means that he has run out of chances to use it, but that's fine because he's going to awaken his inner diddler. Seino wonders what to do with Natsuno, but decides against being her first elephant because that would be very cold of him to do. Either way, the Epstein mentality creeps in and our hero turns into the villain yet again. He takes a good look at Natsuno's cute pillows and then he decides to show her his own elephant. From his experience with Fukushima, our villain knows that simple in and out movements are not going to increase his levels, so he asks Natsuno to unleash the tongue twister 500. She seems to be doing a good job, and it makes Seino wonder if Natsuno will give the same performance when she is not under this trance. After a bit of twirling and sucking, Seino's elephant gets ready to release his water, and he comments that Natsuno is quite intense. The item should not be so effective, so Seino wonders if Natsuno actually wants to do such a thing on her own. After some more time, Seino unleashes his elephant water and Natsuno is made to consume it all as if it's medicine. Later, she snaps out of the trance and wonders what happened to her. She can feel something in her mouth, so she quickly drinks some water, but she has no idea what other kind of water was inside her before. Seino tells her that it's 6 in the evening and this takes her by surprise. Natsuno panics and says that she should not have stayed for this long, so she'll get going now. Seino says bye, but then Natsuno feels something odd, which even our hero is able to sense. Natsuno says that she has just heard a voice calling out to her, and this makes Seino panic, because it's the exact same thing that happened with Haru. He can't let anyone else find out about the dungeon, so he quickly grabs Natsuno's arm and hugs her. He hopes to calm her down with this hug, and it seems to work because Natsuno is back to her normal self now. She is blushing because of what our hero is doing to her bottom curves, and he apologizes because at this point, he's just doing shady things subconsciously. Of course, this is odd for a normal girl to hear, and Natsuno makes a quick exit to avoid showing how much she is blushing. After Natsuno leaves, Seino laments the issue about this mysterious voice that drags his girls towards the dungeon. He knows that he hugged Natsuno to calm her down, but he also takes note of the fact that she wasn't really against it when became shady. Either way, our hero must make sure that no one else gets to know about this dungeon apart from Haru. Now, we shift to Natsuno outside who is still trying to digest the fact that Seino hugged her. She leaves the area, but then we notice Akitsu over there as well, who has been spying on the couple the entire time. Now, Sano dresses up for his adventure and the doorbell rings, so he goes to see who it is. As expected, it's Haru who comes in quickly and abruptly as if she is evading someone. He asks her what the matter is, and she reveals that she saw a Kitsu from just across the house. This is alarming for Sano, and then Haru reveals that she actually had to go back home for some time in order to avoid getting seen entering our hero's house. Of course, our hero has other issues to deal with because if a Kitsu has been spying on him, then she would have seen Natsuno leaving as well. Haru says that Akitsu looked as if she was waiting for something, so she asks Sano if he has any business with her. Our hero says that he has nothing to do with her, but he does consider her to be a bit suspicious. He then tells his curvy sensei that Akitsu does not know anything about the dungeon, but she is spying on him, so even Haru will need to be a bit careful moving forward. She gets it, but now there's something else that Sano wants to know about, and that's the bag she's carrying with her. Haru reveals that these are 6 shaka-long wooden poles which are used as bojutsu weapons. This doesn't make sense to our hero, so Haru has to explain that her father owns a dojo that teaches bojutsu, and he trained her to become a great fighter. Haru is ready to take on the monsters with her poles, and this leads Sano to wonder if she is strong. Haru reveals that she did win a few competitions before becoming a teacher, so she's no pushover. It was due to this that she was not able to experience and enjoy girly things while growing up, but then the curvy sensei realizes that she has been talking for too long. Sano doesn't mind it, but it's time to go into the dungeon now and increase his levels even further. How exactly are things going to shape up for our hero?
With everything set in place, Sano and Haru enter the dungeon with each other. But our hero would like to confirm their levels once before moving ahead to the second level. Haru does not understand what this means, but our hero does, so he asks his sensei to look at her palm. She is surprised to see text on it, and then Sano reveals that it's supposed to be her level. This level will increase with combat experience, but we all know the combat in question is quite shady in nature. When Sano first did unspeakable things with Haru, he realized that her hole had already met poles before. This means she must at least be level 7 or higher. However, Haru reveals that she is actually level 6, which comes as a huge shocker to our hero. It does not make sense to him at all because this does not match the number of times Haru has done shady things. This could imply that the level does not rise if a dungeon item is not used. Sano goes on to show that he himself is level 9, which is surprising to Haru because she has done tons of competitions in the past, meaning she has a lot of combat experience. Of course, this is not the truth of the matter, but even Sano is confused over his sensei's level. Our hero does notice something now, which he did not earlier, and it is to do with Haru's attire. He sees that she is wearing her jersey again, which is quite confusing because she was going for the whole schoolgirl look earlier. Haru reasons that she had thought about the whole thing and figured that she needed to wear something which would make movement easier for her. The curvy sensei is a bit embarrassed right now, but Sano tells her that he will bring out the adventure equipment of his mom, so Haru won't need to bring any of her jerseys along. Of course, he has to riz Haru a bit, so he mentions she did look cute and pretty when she was wearing her skirt earlier. This makes her blush, and she even repeats the fact that Sano found her pretty. Our hero simply stays quiet, but the curvy sensei thinks that her efforts have borne her some fruit. Sano is a bit confused because Haru is talking as if she has never worn a skirt or worn makeup before. However, it turns out that what he is saying is actually true, and Haru is not the feminine babe he had thought of her before. The curvy sensei says it's better not to speak any further right now, and she even sinks to the ground in shame. Sano wants to lift up Haru's mood, so he tells her that he would not mind watching her wear that skirt every single day. Once again, the curvy sensei blushes a lot, so our hero tells her that he will be looking forward to this visual treat. Of course, she did not say that she was going to do this, but it's fair to assume that Sano can predict her behavior. As expected, Haru says that if Sano really likes her in a skirt so much, then she wouldn't mind doing such a thing. Our hero likes that his sensei is so cute and simple, but then the both of them hear a loud noise coming from within the dungeon. Sano realizes this is not the time to be having a nice little chat because an enemy is coming their way now. At this very moment, an electrical beast rushes towards the both of them, and the couple barely manages to escape its wrath. Sano figures if his thunder beast can rampage in such a narrow dungeon, then they are going to have a hard time fighting it. There's no point in second-guessing, so our hero goes in for an attack with his dagger. Unfortunately for him, the electrical shield around the monster is way too strong for him to penetrate. After all, this is not Haru's kitty we are talking about. Speaking of which, the curvy sensei tells Sano that she will take care of this disturbance. And just like that, Haru is able to smack the monster with her stick, without having to come in direct contact with it. She shows off some seriously impressive moves that stun not only Sano, but also the men of culture watching this video. Our hero is on the floor, watching his sensei in amazement, but she says that she will now stop wearing a jersey. That's a bit abrupt for Sano, but Haru continues by saying she will now wear a skirt every single day for him. This is enough to make her blush again, so she tells Sano to hurry up and get this dungeon business done with. Haru notices that their path is slowly getting wider now, so Sano tells her that they could be closing in on one of the small rooms. He knows they will find a treasure within a chest in these types of rooms, but they also come with a monster, so it will be important for them to work together and take it down. Haru understands the assignment, and they enter the room to find the treasure chest, and also a weird little vegetable monster roaming around it. Haru wants to see if she can check its level by closing one of her eyes, and it works as she sees it's the same level as her. Sano tells his sensei that he will take the initiative to attack the monster. Haru will stay behind him and attack the beast when she sees an opening. The plan works out perfectly, as Sano charges at the monster and creates the opening for Haru to come in and do her thing. The vegetable monster is defeated with ease, and the couple congratulates each other for their perfect timing and coordination. It's time to open the treasure chest, but Haru wants to know what's in it. Sano can't exactly tell her the truth, so he reveals that there are 3 treasure chests on every layer of the dungeon. You can only advance to the next level if you have taken all of the items in each chest, and Sano makes it a point to tell Haru each of these items are like toys. In this chest, our hero finds a wristband which will definitely have some kind of special effects, so he decides to read up on it before Haru can. This is called a lucky band, and if you wear it on your arm, you will become the ultimate Shady King. If you touch a girl with the same hand wearing the wristband, the girl will not know what you are doing to her, and her intrusive thoughts will also increase at the same time. However, people around you will be able to see what you are doing to that girl, so this has to be done secretly. The usage for this item is unlimited, but Sano realizes that his target may still be able to resist the shoddiness due to their reasoning still being in place. At that moment, he realizes that it will be a really bad idea to have Haru read what he has just read. With that, he decides to pull a trick which makes the letter impossible to read for normal people. He hands it over to Haru, who can't seem to understand what is written on it. She asks Sano, but he obviously says there's a bunch of nonsense on it that nobody would ever believe in their right minds. The curvy sensei then reveals that she actually has no idea of what the letter is trying to say at all. Sano is confused, but then he figures that Haru is not able to read anything in the letter at all. This means he can easily pick up as many items as he wants without having to worry. So he tells Haru even he is unable to make sense of the letter. Now, our hero becomes the villain and wears the wristband in order to test if it actually works. He immediately goes for Haru's soft pillows, and it seems to have an effect on her. As was mentioned in the letter, she is not able to see Sano use his hand on her, but she is definitely gaining some seriously intrusive thoughts. Sano can't help but smile over how his sensei is blushing while trying to fight her feelings. So Haru asks him why he is making that kind of expression. He says it's nothing and then pushes his sensei to carry on with him into the dungeon. He does not hold back at all and lets his hands go crazy with Haru's pillows. She obviously feels it but can't see her own student doing it to her. Sano asks Haru why she has started to breathe so heavily all of a sudden, but she tries to act as if she does not know what is going on. Sano goes for the bottom now, and this makes Haru even more excited, but she states that she is probably breathing this way because she is a bit tired. The couple continues exactly like this for a while as they walk through the rest of the dungeon's level. Sano knows that Haru is doing her best to fight something she has no idea of, and he is impressed that the wristband has actually delivered on what has been promised to him. They come across another small room, so Sano leaves his hand and tells Haru they should go check it out. Personally, for the sensei, she is just relieved that she is not feeling shady any longer. They enter the small room and notice the electrical monster from before, which is actually shown to be like a male sheep, also known as a ram. Haru already made one run away with her stick, so she is confident she will be able to defeat this one as well. However, this male sheep is actually at level 9, which makes him a lot tougher than the previous one. Even so, the curvy sensei is very confident in her abilities, so it does not look like she is going to lose. Sano doesn't really have an option but to listen to Haru, as he will not even be able to get close to the monster. He lets Haru loose, and she charges at the beast, but it lets out a massive roar and unleashes a surge of electricity that nobody saw coming. This attack is strong enough to seriously injure Haru, and the ram does not just stop with that. He proceeds to strike Haru with a headbutt at that very moment, which makes him the clear winner of the duel while Sano helplessly watches on. It's obvious that the monster's level is way too high for Haru, so Sano considers retreating. However, he is not sure if he will be able to take Haru with him as well. That's when it strikes him that maybe the wristband had distracted his sensei from unleashing all her skills. Haru gets up for round 2 and tells our hero to leave without her, but that is definitely something he is not going to do. Haru insists that she will be fine, and he should just try to escape while he still can. Sano tries to figure some kind of way to win this encounter as the battle wages on, and that's when an idea strikes him. Haru tries to give it her all, but her attacks are not having any effect on the ram monster. The beast is about to launch one more deadly attack on Haru, and it does not look like she'll be able to avoid the blow. Luckily for her, something strikes down the beast right before impact, and it falls to the ground. Haru notices that her savior is Sano, who is using an air bow to stall the beast. His attack was enough to temporarily take down the sheep monster, but it gets back up and charges straight at our hero. Of course, Sano is unfazed as he launches one more strike on the sheep monster, and this is enough to make it disintegrate. Now that the coast is clear, Haru goes up to Sano and thanks him for saving her life. Our hero acts like a Giga Chad and says that he simply used the treasure from this room, which happened to be the arrow gun. The curvy sensei is glad that the treasures of this dungeon can be useful in combat as well. Sano is also surprised that the treasure may not always come inside a treasure chest, and this arrow gun is indeed from that category. However, this is not your average air bow either, as he reads the letter that comes with the treasure. This is actually a falling in love bow which happens to have a high offensive capability. Every time you enter the dungeon, it will charge up 5 arrows for the user. Plus, if the user wants his target to fall in love with him, then the arrows won't hurt the target but will rather make them fall in love with the user. This weapon can be used for an unlimited amount of times, but has a maximum distance of 30 meters and cannot be used outside the dungeon. Sano understands the utility of this weapon now, and figures that he should only use it when he has a girl in the dungeon with him. Now, he tells Haru that they should stop here for today because they have already suffered some injuries. She agrees with his logic, but the moment she turns around to walk, our hero switches to villain mode again as he has to use the arrow gun on her. He ends up striking his target, but Haru simply turns around without any reaction. This makes Sano wonder why she did not have any loving reaction to him. The arrow has disappeared anyway, so Sano believes it may not have much of an effect when it comes to the love part. Either way, this would be a great chance for him to use an offensive weapon, so he's happy. As the couple is about to exit the dungeon, Haru asks Sano what they should do for tomorrow's expedition. Our hero realizes that tomorrow is a holiday, so if his sensei has the free time, then she can probably drop by in the afternoon itself. Suddenly, Haru blushes like a teenage schoolgirl and says that she'll come for him. She also asks Sano if he is fine and whether he has any friends or even a girlfriend. He laughs and says he neither has a girlfriend nor does he have a single friend. This is surprising to Haru, because she had thought that Sano and Suzumoto got along well with each other. That's when our hero clarifies that they just talk a lot because they are partners in school. They don't hang out with each other, especially because Suzumoto has a lot of friends himself. Sano can't really get along with such people, so Haru realizes she can have our hero all to herself. She says she will come over by 2 in the afternoon tomorrow, and then she leaves. Sano gets ready to unwind now, but he suddenly receives a message on his phone and it's from his arch-nemesis Akitsu. She asks if she can come over tomorrow in the afternoon as she would like to ask him something. Sano realizes it's probably because Akitsu saw Natsuno coming to his house, and he knows he will not benefit if he invites her over. However, Akitsu then sends him an image of him and Fukushima engaging in some shady activities. Our hero can't believe that he was caught red-handed, that too by Akitsu, and this puts him in a tough spot. Of course, he can't risk Akitsu finding out about the sounds from the dungeon, because if that's the case, then it will be game over for him. He turns it around on Akitsu and tells her that he would rather come over to her place instead. She seems to be fine with this, but Sano has to do something about that picture with Fukushima. He will also need to get Akitsu over to his side before she is able to expose the truth about the dungeon. All of a sudden, we see Natsuno unleashing the Tongue Twister 3000 on Sano, and he is about to reward her with his elephant water. This, of course, turns out to be a dream, and she wakes up from it rather abruptly. Natsuno takes a couple of seconds to realize what has just happened, but she is a bit flustered by the fact that she had such a shady dream. Suddenly, she takes a look outside her window and notices Sano approaching her house. Natsuno panics upon seeing him, and he also waves to her. But then Akitsu opens the door and greets him with a misleading smile. She invites him inside, and then he goes to the dining room with her. Sano asks Akitsu why her parents aren't here, and she states they're both outside for now. Anyway, Akitsu tells Sano he should feel free to talk to her about anything he feels. The main intention for our hero is to get rid of that shady picture before anyone else can find it. He hopes to deal with it quickly, and then we see a glass filled with some kind of drink. They enter Akitsu's room, and then Sano brings up the image, but she says that she forgot to get some snacks. She leaves the room, and then our hero notices the 2 glasses in front of him. This is his chance to do something about the situation. So he unleashes the diddler within and spikes Akitsu's drink with some substance. Akitsu returns with her snacks and then says she would like to speak about something very important. Sano asks if it is to do with how she was secretly lying in wait outside his house. Akitsu gives an evil smile and is impressed that Sano noticed this. If this is the case, then she won't need much time to say what she wants. She asks what Sano was doing with Natsuno the other day, but our hero turns it around by asking her why she is talking to him about it. If Akitsu wanted the truth, then she could have spoken to Natsuno already. She says that she indeed asked Natsuno yesterday, but she became so flustered that she spaced out and couldn't respond properly to her. This made Akitsu realize that she wasn't going to get a straight answer from her. This leaves her with Sano as the only one who can satisfy her curiosity. Sano is surprised to hear this, and tells Akitsu that he and Natsuno simply had tea and did some small talk. Nothing else. Akitsu calls him out because Natsuno was way too flustered to respond, which means they definitely did something shady which cannot be exposed. There's a brief pause, after which Seino decides to change the subject. He asks Akitsu to get rid of the shady picture, but she only shows him the scandalous image again to rub it in his face, somewhat like how he splashed it in Fuyushima's mouth. Akitsu wants to have her questions answered first, so Seino figures all he can do right now is talk. He reveals that he did hug Natsuno, and this is exactly what Akitsu wanted to hear. She teases him by saying it was quite bold of him to do such a thing, and it explains why Natsuno was being so flustered. Seino tries to defend himself by saying Natsuno was about to fall down, which was why he had to hug her, so it was basically an accident. Seino now tells Akitsu that he has spoken the truth, so she should delete the image now. However, she toys with him some more by pondering if she should actually do such a thing. Seino grows impatient and declares that he did speak honestly with her, so she should do as he says. However, Akitsu says that it's going to take a lot more than a few words for her to delete such a shady image. Also, she is not too sure if Seino is being completely honest with her. This is giving our hero a headache, and he is just hoping for Akitsu to drink the tea he has spiked. He is running out of options, and the only thing left is for him to use the wristband. If he can excite her enough with intrusive thoughts, then he might just get her to drink the tea he has prepared. Seino now proceeds to grab Akitsu's pillow and feels her as much as he can to get her excited. The intrusive thoughts become way too hot for her to handle, so she ends up drinking the tea, just as Seino had hoped. He can see that Akitsu is struggling, so he asks her to delete the shady image for him. Akitsu holds her ground, but she does struggle a bit, as she wants to know what Seino has done to Fuyushima in detail. As a matter of fact, she reveals that she actually has a video recording of the whole thing, but it was only this particular image that came out clear. She is also aware that Fuyushima had completely bore herself, so she is not sure if the Tongue Twister 3000 was the only tool she used on him. The pressing of her pillows increases in intensity, so she herself does not know how much longer she can bear this. Our hero turns into the villain again and asks her if she is going to do this for him. Akitsu eventually does say yes, and then Seino shifts his attention to her bottom. He asks her why her face is turning red, but she says that she is just feeling hot for some reason. Akitsu drinks some more tea, so Seino knows it's only a matter of time before she caves in. After realizing she is ripe for the picking, Seino decides to put his hand where no man has gone before. He slides his finger into Akitsu's kitty, and she lets out a little shriek. Of course, she does not know what he is doing because of the wristband, but it's definitely a crime worthy of imprisonment. Seino seems to be quite proud of himself as he asks Akitsu why she is shrieking so much. She tries to play it down, but there's only so much you can do when intrusive thoughts take over your mind, body, and soul. The rubbing continues considerably, and Akitsu's breathing intensity also increases with it. Seino asks her if she has a fever due to the sudden rise in breathing, but she is pretty much speechless right now. She asks Seino to wait, but he plays innocent and asks her what she means by this. At this very moment, it is clear that nothing can stop Akitsu from exploding, so she drinks some more of the spiked tea. Upon doing this, Akitsu loses all sense of consciousness and tells Seino that she can't take it anymore. He, of course, lets out a shady smile that once again makes us question why he's the hero of this story. Akitsu has been taken over now, so she tells Seino that she wishes to drink his elephant water. He is glad that his shady tactics are working, but he is in no hurry, so he decides to toy with her some more. Seino teases her and asks why she is making such a weird request because elephant water is not something to request for so desperately. Akitsu herself says that she doesn't quite understand why she has this odd desire, but she really wants to drink Seino's elephant water at any cost. He says that she's making quite a bold statement, but he is willing to consider it if she deletes his picture with Fuyushima. Akitsu tries to stay strong, but then Seino says that he can't do anything for her if she does not delete the image. He says he will give up and go home now, but then Akitsu holds his hand and begs him to let her drink his elephant water. She pleads with him and finally agrees to delete the image, which makes Seino put on an evil smile. Akitsu finally deletes the Shady image and begs Seino to allow her to drink his nectar. Of course, Seino is 2 steps ahead and tells Akitsu that he's aware she will have backup too. He makes her delete the backup images and videos, after which Akitsu goes into a frenzy, desperately requesting for some shoddiness. Now that Seino has got what he wanted, he proceeds to reveal his elephant, and Akitsu goes to town on it like a wild animal. Seino can't believe that the craving extract has such a crazy effect, and then we see the innocent Akitsu doing not-so-innocent things. She can't even manage to keep his elephant out of her mouth. So Seino comments that her craving is quite different from Fukushima. Akitsu goes bonkers and tells Seino to let it out immediately because she really wants to taste it. Seino is definitely on villain energy right now, but he is glad that he will be able to increase his level due to Akitsu's acts, and has also managed to delete the evidence of his shady times with Fukushima. If things continue this way, then he might even be able to make Akitsu his slave girl. Soon enough, Seino reaches his limit, and he informs Akitsu to prepare her throat. He lets out his elephant water like a waterfall, and Akitsu drinks all of it like peach lemonade. She takes a moment to recover, but then snaps back to her conscious self and wonders why she was just doing this to Seino. This is a normal reaction for anyone who has been brainwashed, but it's different from Fukushima, who also ended up giving Seino her flower. Akitsu also turns to the dark side and asks with an evil smile what Seino just did to her. He realizes that things are not as simple as they seem, because Akitsu has always been wary of him. How is our hero going to deal with his latest victim now? And what is going to happen when he finally clears all the levels of the Shady dungeon? Is Akitsu going to expose his shady acts? Like, share, and subscribe if you feel you can do a better job than Seino, and also a more moralistic one. Show this video enough love, and I'll make a fresh part with a longer story. Okay then, I'll see you in the next one. Seino can't afford to be caught lacking, so he plays an Uno reverse on Akitsu by saying she was the one who wanted to drink his elephant water. She agrees with what she did, but also maintains that there's no way she would have had genuine feelings for our hero so randomly. She knows that she unleashed the tongue twister 9000 and also that her bottoms came off instantly, so she wonders if Seino has some kind of superpower. Our hero is shocked to hear this, because he did not expect a cunning girl like Akitsu to make such an assumption. She now asks Seino if he was using mind control or something like that. After all, she has never seen anyone capable of such feats, as even movies don't show people with such shady skills. That's only reserved for the men of culture at comic guzzlers. Seino is still unable to believe that this childish girl is actually the same Akitsu who was being a bother to him. She then asks Seino if he was one of those pet creatures that other people can't see. Akitsu seems to be a fan of manga and anime, as this is something only an otaku would say. That's when our hero remembers that Natsuno had mentioned something about Akitsu having another personality. Akitsu now asks Seino one more time as to how he did this, but he maintains that he does not have any kind of superpower. That she is disappointed to hear this, but then she comes up with another reason. She thinks that Seino has a body part that makes girls fall in love with him, similar to how Takamichi's elephant makes girls do shady things to him in the Savage Hero series on Comic Guzzlers. All of these assumptions make Seino wonder if it really was a good idea to use all those items on Akitsu, who now wants to search his body. Seino says that he gets Akitsu's excitement, but investigating his body will only lead to more shady activities. Akitsu really wants to explore our hero's body, so she tells him he can ask a favor from her. In exchange for the favor, he can allow Akitsu to investigate his body. Our hero sees this as a chance, so he jokingly asks her to let him have Natsuno without any interference. This does not go well with Akitsu, as she looks at Seino angrily. Our hero doesn't want any trouble, so he says that he was just kidding, although Akitsu says that he should not even joke about such a thing. She reminds him that she will never forgive him if he ever breaks Natsuno's heart, prompting Seino to believe that these girls are a lot closer to each other than he had anticipated. Akitsu says that she loves Natsuno a lot, but she knows he does not feel for her the same way. She also knows that Seino has done something to make Natsuno fall for him, but she does not want him to take advantage of her feelings. She can't let him be with Natsuno if he intends to exploit her. Akitsu sounds sincere as she says all of this, so Seino figures it's best not to push her buttons. He tells her that he won't lay a hand on Natsuno and even promises it. Akitsu's mood has changed now, so she does not want to investigate our hero's body anymore. Instead, she wants to sit and talk about Natsuno, which Seino is fine with. After this session, Seino goes back home and expresses relief over deleting the image of him and Fuyushima, having said that he still feels that Akitsu is a threat to him and his dungeon. Even if she wasn't so close to Natsuno, maybe she would have still been bothersome to our hero, but either way, he does not want to give up on Natsuno because she is a certified baddie. The important thing now is to do something about Akitsu's obsession with Natsuno. Meanwhile, we go back to Akitsu, who checks her hidden camera for some evidence on what Seino did to her. She is surprised that all the main parts of her shady behavior with him are gone, but all is not lost for her just yet. She takes a closer look at the footage and goes back to the part where Seino puts something in her glass. Akitsu now turns her face into that of an evil villain, as she seems to have finally found some evidence on our shady hero. Now, we see Haru, who has shown up to Seino's house wearing her teacher's outfit. She's looking super fine, just as Seino also tells her, but she says she's only wearing this because she knows he likes it. Wearing such clothes for an adventure into a dungeon isn't a smart move, and our hero agrees with that. Seino then turns on his power of Riz by saying even a glimpse of his sensei in a skirt is enough to make his intrusive thoughts go wild. Haru blushes and says that if he likes it so much, then she wouldn't mind wearing the skirt more often. At this rate, our hero may be able to raise his level with Haru without even needing to use any of his items. It's time to get changed and start the expedition, so Haru gets into her active gear. Seino notes that these clothes are bulkier and tougher than normal clothes, but seem to have some strange aspects when used in the dungeon. Haru is glad that she can move around freely in these clothes, and so is Seino. After all, he'd love to see some jiggle physics play out in front of him. Haru checks her level and notices that it's still at 6, but is surprised to see Seino at level 10, which is one more than what it was yesterday. Our hero can't let his secret get out, so he explains that he was fighting some monsters earlier, which was why he gained a level. Haru is fine with that because now she is here to keep her lover boy safe. Our hero fears that his curvy sensei will eventually find out that the items he has are related to the leveling up, and he isn't Sung Jin Woo, so he won't have any reliable reasons to give. The couple goes down the stairs to the 3rd floor, and Seino tells Haru that the enemies will only get stronger now, so they need to be on their guards. Our hero feels his level alone won't be enough to win, so he'll have to rely on his sensei for assists. He also has a new long-range weapon, but it's only good for 5 shots, which is a lot lesser than what he had given Haru earlier. They set out to find a small room with the treasure, but the map for this floor does seem to be a bit more complex than the other two. Anyway, Seino decides to travel around the outer boundary so that he and Haru don't run into too many monsters during their search. The curvy sensei asks how many stairs there are in this dungeon, but Seino doesn't have an answer to that, although he does seem to find it fun. Haru has no issues because she'll protect Seino for as long as she has to. The both of them continue on their way, and then they come across a small room. Our hero is happy because it looks like they've come across the treasure. The monster guarding it is a doll, but it happens to be at level 11, so Sano will need to tag team with his sensei for this. They are about to attack, but then Haru points out that there's not one, but two dolls. This is tricky for Sano, because he's not sure if they can take down two high-level monsters. They also notice some kind of jewel hanging above the dolls, so our hero wonders if this one is a monster as well. However, upon closer inspection, he figures that the dolls are being controlled by some strings that are attached to the jewel. That's when he realizes that the jewel is the main monster, and it could also be the weak point. Sano explains to Haru how they should just aim for critical strikes at the weak point, so she decides to lure the dolls while her lover boy goes for the jewel. The challenge begins, as Haru attacks the dolls with all her powers, and we do see the jewel controlling them. However, the dolls are a bit too strong for her, and they manage to get the drop on her with ease. Haru is now trapped, and things look a bit too tough for her. And to make matters worse, even Sano is not having a lot of luck with the jewel. It's moving too fast for him to take his shot, so this is a mess as of now. One of the dolls ends up catching Haru's stick, and she's not able to shake it off her. Luckily, she uses her big brain energy and is able to shake the doll with her. This makes the jewel also lose balance, which means that Sano take his shot now. He manages to land a blow that damages the jewel, but the danger is far from over. Our hero is then confronted by an even bigger doll, which looks like it would make Annabelle cry for help. The doll takes control of his weapon and then whacks him to the ground in rather dangerous fashion. Haru can't let her lover boy get injured, so she moves forward. The curvy sensei goes rage mode and attacks with a finisher move, which is enough to destroy the already cracked jewel properly. Causing the main device to crack open makes the dolls also vanish, which means that Sano is now safe. Haru rushes towards him to check on his injuries, and they don't look too good. Our hero says he's okay for now, but he's bleeding. Haru is concerned, but Sano knows that he will be back to normal once he exits the dungeon. He still needs to walk out of here, but first he wants to take the treasure and advance. Haru does not have a good feeling about this, but Sano tells her that he still has 4 shots left. The curvy sensei argues that the fights are getting tougher and tougher, so she is not sure if she will be able to keep up. That's true, and she also feels guilty about not being able to protect Sano. Our hero says that he can protect himself, but Haru can't believe that he is showing so much sass after having such a close call. She asks him to listen to her once again, and this time Sano does as she says. He will at least take the treasure, so he opens the chest to see his rewards. They happen to be 3 tickets that are called sleepover tickets. Basically, one of these will guarantee a woman spending 1 night with you in bed. She can't refuse, and the people around you won't be opposed to it either, but the trick is that these tickets do not guarantee shady activities. Sano laments that these items won't really do much to increase his level, but then he realizes that he can utilize a combo with another item, which is his Shady glove. Now, they head back home and Sano tells Haru that they should call off the expedition they had planned for tomorrow. She is fine with this because she wanted to sharpen her own skills anyway, as she needs to be prepared for the stronger monsters in the dungeon. Even Sano realizes that at his current level, there's no way he will be able to take on stronger opponents. So, he needs to come up with some kind of strategy. It would actually be much harder for him if Haru wasn't there, so he really needs to buck up. The curvy sensei says she will see her lover boy in school tomorrow, and then she leaves. Sano steps out to increase his level, and even though he was thinking of doing something with Haru, he feels that he does not have an item that would help him seal the deal. He can try for Natsuno too, but that would just mean inviting trouble in the form of a Kitsu. That leaves him with one safe option, which is Fuyushima. Sano reaches her home and rings the doorbell. He answers the person on the other line by saying he's in the same class as Fuyushima and had promised her something. Fuyushima herself then comes to receive him, but says that there were no promises made. Sano has something to give her, and it's one of the sleepover tickets he had taken just now. Simply taking the ticket is enough for her to change her frame of mind, and then she asks Sano if he has brought his change of clothes. He says yes, so she invites him inside for dinner, and probably a snack later. Our hero is slowly turning over to the dark side again, as he is glad that he didn't even need to ask to stay over. He meets Fuyushima's grandmom and excuses himself, to which she says that it's rare for her granddaughter to bring a friend over. They exchange pleasantries, but Fuyushima is a bit taken aback by Sano being called her friend. The grandmom says that dinner will still take some time, so Sano can wait in Fuyushima's room till then. The tickets are working exactly like they should, and then he enters his target's room. It's quite plain and simple, which is more of Fuyushima style anyway, and then the two of them spend some time with each other. After dinner, Sano chills in a jacuzzi sort of tub and comments on how this place is so lavish that it almost feels like a Japanese inn. Since it's only the grandmom here with Fuyushima, our hero is confident that he will be able to raise his level here. He notices some family pictures of his target and sees that she has a little brother as well. He asks her about it, but she's a bit hesitant. Sano comments that it's surprising for only 2 people to live in such a big house, to which Fuyushima says that her parents and her little brother are not here. Sano asks how old her brother is, but she says that he has always been 6 years old. This hints at a family tragedy, so Sano feels like he may have raised a sensitive issue. Anyway, it's time to go to sleep, so Sano doesn't push his luck. Fuyushima gets into bed and asks Sano to get into the same mattress as her. As he cuddles next to his target, Sano realizes that she smells very nice. Plus, it's been a while since he's actually slept in a bed with someone. Of course, he knows that there won't be a lot of time for sleeping, as he uses his love band to begin with his shady actions. One touch is all it takes for Fuyushima to react, and her behavior is a lot stronger than what our hero-turned-villain had expected. Every girl has a different reaction, and since Fuyushima is not open about her feelings, perhaps she's the freakiest of them all. After some exploration, Sano seems to hit the sweet spot, as Fuyushima gives a rather notable reaction. She can't take it anymore, so she turns to Sano and gives him a sweet, innocent face. She asks him if he is her fated lover, but this comes across as a total shock to all of us. Sano asks her why she is asking this, so she says that her chest is pounding and her body is feeling very hot all of a sudden. Sano really turns into a villain and asks Fuyushima if she is in love with him. She is not sure of that, but explains how her grandmom told her that she would have a fated lover who would love and care for her. Sano does not seem to follow, but Fuyushima says that her grandmom told her to only give her body to this fated lover. This makes Sano realize that Fuyushima is really in the mood, and she's trying to find a way out of what her grandmom told her. Now, Fuyushima tells Sano that if he is indeed her fated lover, then he should give her his love. Any man of culture with a conscience would probably not go ahead with this, but Sano is a very different breed, so he says that he is actually Fuyushima's fated lover, just so that he can raise his level. She makes a very innocent face and tells him to love her in the sweetest way possible. The intrusive thoughts kick in, and all kinds of shady actions begin. The tongue twister 900 also comes out, and after some horsing around, it's time to bring out the elephant and the kitty. Sano decides to go for the blow, but it's not easy for a python to squeeze into a water bottle. The tightness eventually gets handled, and then there's all kinds of boink action. This goes on for a while till both Sano and Fuyushima explode. Sano's elephant needs some rest, but Fuyushima tells him that she needs one more time like Daft Punk. Sano has no issue with this because it will only increase his level. The knife flies by without even understanding the concept of time, and then we shift to the morning with Sano asleep. He wakes up to Fuyushima cutely placed on top of him, wishing him a good morning like a best girl. This is a great way to wake up, especially when you consider that Fukushima is using the tongue twister 9000 on Seino's elephant. He is confused because his item was only supposed to work at night, but here they are. He drizzles Fukushima with his elephant water, and she treats it like a nice morning refreshment. Seino thanks Fukushima for his morning treat, and then she calls him her fated lover once again. Seino does not know how to react to it, so he agrees with her for now. If this is the case, then he will probably not even need to use any items on Fukushima again in the future. It is a bit of an evil move though, because Fukushima seems to be a very sweet girl. For the sake of clarity, Comic Guzzlers does not encourage this kind of villainous behavior, because we are true men of culture. Anyway, Seino sees that he has increased his level from 10 straight to 17, which is a massive jump. He can now afford to explore the dungeon by himself, but he still needs to be careful about it. We see our hero in the dungeon now, and he chooses to go left because last time he had gone right. He eventually comes across a small room and finds a boss monster there as well. It happens to be a balloon with an eye which has a level of 13. This is fine because Seino is stronger than it, so he brings out his weapon and aims at the monster. He is a bit nervous about striking accurately, but he is able to get the job done with just one arrow. The monster explodes, and our hero figures that his level is very compatible with the weapon. It's time to open the treasure chest, and as luck would have it, the prize is a Shady magazine. It looks like this treasure was created by men of culture as well, and Seino reads the instructions. The magazine is made to satisfy even the shadiest of desires upon reading it, and writing a name on the back cover will allow the reader to know the name of the magazine's owner. This treasure seems to only be useful for solo adventures. But then Seino realizes that he has more treasures to collect. He explores some more and comes across the treasure box from the other day. This means that there are 2 items on the outer areas and 1 in the inner area. At this very moment, Seino hears a roar and turns around to find a monster charging at him. He prepares to attack it, but the beast just mindlessly charges into a wall and harms itself. Seino is confused at first, but then he checks out the level to see that it's only level 11. He fires 1 arrow at the beast, and this seems to do the trick as it falls to the ground in pain and vanishes after. This is a relief for our hero, but then he wonders how many more floors this dungeon has. The notebook has only given him information up until floor 5, so he won't know anything after that. If floor 5 is actually the final floor of the dungeon, then all of this would just be a waste for Seino. Now, he comes across another small room, which should be the final one from this floor. Another balloon monster shows up, and this one seems to be at level 15. Seino may still be at a higher level, but he can sense that this beast is a lot stronger than the previous one he had taken down. He aims his arrow and fires 1 at it, but the balloon monster smiles and evades a direct hit. Even so, it does get hurt and it lets out a roar to show it's not going to hold back. The beast charges at Seino, but he's ready for it, so he launches 1 more arrow in the nick of time that hits it in the eye. The balloon monster gets destroyed, and Seino is relieved that he could take it out in just 2 blows. He opens the treasure chest for his prize, and notices that it's an hourglass. The note says that this hourglass can be used to stop a target for 30 minutes. Seino will have to look at his target and say stop with passion in order to activate it, but he can only use this 1 time. Now, we move to school the next day, as we see Seino greeting Fukushima in class. She greets him back, and then he apologizes for causing her trouble by staying over last night. She tells him he does not need to apologize, so Seino asks her if he can come over again. She says it's fine, but she would prefer to sleep earlier on weekdays, as she will need to attend classes as well. Seino then asks if he can come over on the weekend, to which she says yes. Seino is glad that he now has Fukushima within the palm of his hand, although this is still not the right thing to do. Meanwhile, we see Natsuno getting teased, and Sano can figure that she has still not recovered from her apparent dream involving him. He decides to test something out, so he stands up, and this causes Natsuno to flinch. He approaches Akitsu, so Natsuno hides behind the class door. Sano asks for Natsuno, so she has to show herself anyway, and then he asks if she is fine because her face is all red and full of blush. Natsuno acts up and says that she's completely fine, even blurting out that this has nothing to do with Sano. He simply tells her that she can talk to him about anything she likes if she wishes to. However, Akitsu reminds him that he has to keep his promise of not laying a hand on Natsuno. She's fine with talking though, but also mentions that she won't allow Sano to pull any sly tricks like earlier. This shocks him, as he wonders if Akitsu has found out about the items. Now, Akitsu playfully says that even she would like to be a part of these chats between Natsuno and Sano, but our shady hero must be wary of her, because she is extra cautious now. Now, Haru enters class, and she's wearing a skirt, so Sano is glad to see her dressing up for him. As class goes on, Sano tells us that even though Akitsu has warned him so much, he will not give up on Natsuno in any way. He just needs to figure a way to get by his obstacles because he somehow needs to get Natsuno all to himself. As he plans to find an opening to talk to Natsuno, Sano notices that Akitsu is constantly talking to her about something or the other, so she is effectively blocking him. Her guard is so high that she won't even allow Natsuno to be alone. There does happen to be an opening when Akitsu is told to wait for Natsuno as she goes to get a key from one of the teachers. The moment she is alone, Natsuno is approached by Sano, and she is visibly shaking in his presence. He then hands her a sleepover ticket, and she takes it without thinking. The ticket activates, so Natsuno blindly says yes when Sano tells her that he will be at her place tonight. Sano also tells Natsuno to keep this a secret from Akitsu, to which she agrees. Classes get done with, and Sano goes to meet Haru. The curvy sensei says that she will get done with work soon, but Sano tells her that she does not need to come over today. He simply says that he does not feel like exploring the dungeon, although he is definitely interested in Natsuno's pink dungeon. Haru says it's fine as long as Sano does not go to the dungeon alone. After all, she will be very mad at him if he does do such a thing. On that note, Sano leaves school and then we move to the nighttime. He reaches Natsuno's house and explains over the doorbell that he was invited to stay over. He is led inside, so he goes to Natsuno's room, although it does not look like anyone else is here. He enters the room and sees Natsuno hiding under the covers, still shaking. He lifts the covers to see it's her. Sano asks Natsuno if she is scared of spending the night with him, to which she says that she believes he likes to tease the girls he doesn't like. Our dubious hero laughs and asks Natsuno why she would think such a thing. But then she shows him a manga comic in her bag which has all kinds of shady material in it. She asks Sano why his manga is in her bag, but bro is shocked beyond belief. Of course, the images in the manga reflect Natsuno's own choices, so Sano gives us an evil smile as he now has an idea of what she likes. We learn that Sano had set this up during the break time, and he made sure to write his name on the back of the manga so that Natsuno would know it was him. Now, he apologizes to Natsuno, saying he had lent it to one of his friends, but he seemed to have played a prank on him. He then says that the girl in the manga does look like Natsuno, so he doesn't mind teasing her a bit. Natsuno blushes, and is then pinned to the bed almost instantly. Bro is now on demon time, as he tells Natsuno to keep her voice down, no matter what he does to her. She has no idea what's going on, but then our hero-turned-villain activates his secret finger blaster technique. Natsuno is overwhelmed by this feeling, as she does not even know what to think of it. Now, Sano decides to take a look at her pillows, and can also sense that her kitty is thirsty. Sano teases her some more before the both of them are in their birthday suits and ready to get down to business. As he makes his entrance, Natsuno lets out a squeal, so he asks her if she is all right. Bro is in no position to be asking such questions after doing such horrible acts, but Natsuno simply acts shy and says that she could not resist. On that note, Seino decides to begin the game of elephants and kitties with her. After a series of unspeakable acts, including a tongue twister 300, Natsuno is excited that she has been able to get with Seino. Our Shady hero did not expect her to be so enthusiastic, but now Natsuno wants to embrace the dark side. Seino realizes that Natsuno is the type to tire out her partner, so he is in for one heck of a ride. Natsuno goes for it while also celebrating the fact that Seino is her first partner. She does a pretty good job because Seino can't hold back any longer. He is about to unleash his elephant water, and even Natsuno is ready with her kitty water. With that, some explosions happen, and Natsuno falls on top of Seino's chest to recover. He asks her if she is fine, but it looks like she has lost her consciousness due to the intensity of the session. Either way, Seino now knows that she too has tons of intrusive thoughts, even on the same level as the men of culture on comic guzzlers. Suddenly, Natsuno wakes up and is greeted by Seino. She seems to be in a daze, so Seino explains how she passed out on top of him. Natsuno says that she is fine, but feels extremely tired. Seino says that's all right because it was her first time after all. He also states that Natsuno was so cute that he just couldn't help himself. This makes her blush, and she even says that she would be fine with the both of them being lovers. This makes Seino think, and then he turns on Chad mode. He tells Natsuno that he does not see them as lovers, but rather as friends with benefits. He also says that they can date for a bit because he would like to get to know Natsuno better. He does not want their relationship to end here, but that's probably because he wants to continue increasing his level. Anyway, Natsuno seems to buy it, so she says she will do her best. Bro really is a villain, after all. 11. The next morning, Natsuno wakes up to Seino's face, as he tells her that they need to get going if they are to attend class. Seino goes to the kitchen to make breakfast, because that's the least he can do for now. He cooks up some French toast and serves it to Natsuno, which seriously impresses her. She wants to eat her breakfast in bed, so that's what the couple does, and then we move to school. It seems as though Natsuno has told Akitsu about what happened, and this clearly makes her angry. She asks Seino to come with her to the rooftop, and our hero suspects the worst. Once they are alone, Akitsu confronts Seino, asking what excuse he is going to give her this time. First of all, Seino offers her the Shady ticket, but she has no idea what it has to do with anything. Bro acts suspicious and tells her to read the back of the ticket for more clarity. This was just a trick to get her to touch the ticket, and Akitsu realizes that there is nothing at the back. However, she does get psyched by Seino as the ticket spell has now taken over. Seino says that he will be coming to her house at around 8 in the night, and while this does confuse Akitsu, she still accepts. Things have worked out for Seino, but then Akitsu tells him not to mislead her. She wants answers, but Seino says that they can just discuss them at her place tonight. Akitsu says fine, but also tells Seino not to try anything shady like last time. She knows that he had put something in her tea, and this makes our villainous hero panic for a second. Seino uses his big brain energy to figure how she was able to see the substance in the tea, but then he figures that Akitsu may have simply taken another photo like she did last time. Akitsu proudly says that she will not fall for Seino's traps anymore. But the funny thing is that she is falling for one right now. Anyway, he now has to be careful about Akitsu and should not get carried away. Natsuno takes a look at the two of them talking, and she worries that she has caused problems for Seino. She can see that Akitsu is mad, and this leads her to believe that Seino must not like her anymore. As it turns out, Fuyushima is here too, so Natsuno asks her why. She simply says that she was curious, and this causes Natsuno to wonder if Fuyushima also has a thing for Seino. Now, our hero tells Akitsu that they should get back to class, otherwise Natsuno will start to worry. Of course, Natsuno and Fuyu need to hurry back to class before they get caught as well. Seino feels like he will be able to handle Akitsu tonight, although we are not too sure about it. We can see Haru getting done with class, and then Seino goes to talk to his curvy sensei. He wants to tell her that they won't be exploring the dungeon today, but then a strange energy takes over her. It's just like the time when Haru was attracted to the dungeon, so Sano follows her. We can see that this energy has caught Fukushima as well, but for now, Sano goes after Haru, who is climbing the stairs to the rooftop. He panics and tries to catch his sensei's attention, but Haru only snaps back to her senses once she sits on the bench on the rooftop. She has no idea what just happened, and reveals that someone was calling out her name. Sano worries that this energy can reach his babes even when he is in school. Anyway, he tells Haru that they won't explore the dungeon today, and also suggests that his sensei should take some rest. She agrees with him, and then Sano tells her to rest up nicely. On his way back home, Sano thinks about what the dungeon aims to achieve with this. He ended up staying in school later than expected, and to make things worse, his door is already unlocked by the time he reaches home. Sano knows he had locked it before leaving for Natsuno's place, and his parents haven't come back either. That's when Bro realizes that it was the dungeon's plan all along to delay his arrival. Sano can't call the police because that would mean exposing the dungeon. He rushes to the basement and thinks about letting the police at least capture this intruder. However, he must at least talk to this person to figure out what the deal is. However, to everyone's surprise, the imposter is not a stranger, but Fukushima herself. Sano asks her what she is doing here, but she says that someone called her name, and she followed that voice till here. This is just like how it had happened with Haru the first time, but luckily, Fukushima has not gone too far inside the dungeon. He tells her that they should go to the living room, and then he asks Fuyu how she was able to open the basement door, as he had locked it. She reveals that all the doors were open in the house, which makes our hero think about the voice. It seems to have an effect on people as well as objects, which is a bit creepy. Of course, he can't lie to her at this point, so he decides to explain the dungeon to her the same way he did with his curvy sensei. However, Fuyu lands another shocker by saying she knows all about the basement. Sano can't believe what he is hearing, but then Fuyu shows him the notebook she got at the beginning of the dungeon. It was on the floor when she found it, and she goes on to reveal that she is level 9 due to the number of times she has been shady. Sano asks her if she knows about the items too, and she says yes. Fuyu also states that these items are related to the things Sano has been doing recently, so Bro is in a huge mess now. Lying is not going to achieve anything. So Sano asks Fuyu if she is disappointed that he is not her fated lover. Surprisingly, Fuyu says that she is not disappointed because Sano is surely her fated lover. This makes no sense to him, but Fuyu says that he moved her heart, and that was enough for her to know that he was the one. At least our hero and even we at Comic Guzzlers don't need to feel bad about Fuyu anymore, although this could just be something along the lines of Stockholm Syndrome. Now, she lowers her head and asks Sano to let her help him. He is still surprised that she is showing him so much respect, but the important thing is that she won't reveal the truth to anyone, and this is after she knows the worst things about our hero. Bro tries to farm aura by striking a pose and telling Fuyu that he will let her help him. Fuyu immediately gets her freak on, and asks Sano to increase their levels together, but he says no, which is like an Uno reverse for the story. Fuyu obeys him a bit too easily, so Sano tells her that they should go into the dungeon right now, rather than raising their levels. She does as is told, and Sano even dresses her up in the dungeon outfit. He tells Fuyu that they should not overdo anything, so he will have her taking on the weaker monsters on the first floor. Since Fuyu is level 9, she should be good for the first floor, and the fact that she obeys Sano so easily is a good thing for him. With Haru, he now has 2 babes with him, which means Bro is creating an exploration harem. However, our hero does worry about what his sensei might say about another student joining them in the dungeon. Soon enough, the couple comes across a rat monster, which is at level 2. Fuyu gets into position on her own, which is impressive to Sano. However, she does not aim too well, so her arrow is wasted. Sano tells her not to worry, and she reloads another shot. She misses once more, so we now have an awkward silence. Fuyu says that the device might be broken, but Sano knows that ain't the truth, so he decides to give it a try. One shot is all he needs to strike the bull's eye, and the rat monster is beaten. Fuyu feels bad about missing her shots, but Seino tells her it's fine not to get it right off the bat. All she needs is a bit of practice, so our hero asks her to aim for the torch first. She gets into position, and Seino tells her to aim the best she can. He then holds her for better positioning, but Fuyu takes it as an invitation to do unspeakable things. At this point, Seino seems to be a reserved angel compared to Fuyu, as he tells her this was not his intention. He helps Fuyu grip her weapon tightly, probably the same way she'd like to grip his python. Fuyu doesn't hit the torch, but she is closer to her target now. Seino also notices that she closes her eyes just before activating the trigger, which is why her aim is not too good. The bow gun may not be the ideal weapon for Fuyu, but for now, Fuyu realizes that she's read a book where something similar has happened. It's basically a romance story that sparks during training, and Fuyu never thought she would get to do something like this with Seino. Bro has to control his hormones, so he tells Fuyu to try out a knife. As they continue to explore the dungeon, Seino asks Fuyu why she wanted to come and work with him. She says it's a secret, but Seino doesn't mind that. He anyway knows that she is loyal, so he can just ask her later. Now, the couple comes across a monster tree which is at level 3. Seino tells Fuyu that he will counter the tree's attacks, and she should try to slash it with her knife. The couple now gets to work, as Seino charges straight at the monster tree. It attacks him with its whips, but he is able to block the strike. Seino does not feel any pain, and this must be because of the difference in levels. The tree continues to roar, but our hero is able to handle it with ease. He turns to Fuyu, who gets ready with her knife and goes for it. However, nothing happens to the tree, and Seino realizes that Fuyu did not even strike the monster. He asks Fuyu to try again, and she does, but misses again by a fair distance. The tree is also getting upset now because to be used as target practice must suck. Seino figures this is a waste of time, so he takes off a branch and destroys the monster. Now, our hero asks his babe if she wanted to fight monsters as part of helping him with the dungeon. She reveals that she is not too keen on fighting, so Seino figures that she only wants to help him level up. He says that he will contact Fuyu when he will need a level up, but she says she will not allow that. Seino doesn't understand, but Fuyu wants to be with him while he explores the dungeon, and she promises that she will not hold him back. Seino asks her why she wants to do this, but once again, she says this is a secret. Her actions seem suspicious, so Seino tells her he explores the dungeon every single day. She is fine with that, so Seino figures it's best to just call it a day for now. On their way out of the dungeon, Fuyu asks Seino if he wants to level up with her, but he says they should save that for another time because he has other plans too. 12. Now, we move forward to Seino packing his bag for an eventful night ahead. He goes to Akitsu's house, and she opens the door eagerly. She says that her parents are home tonight, so he can't do anything strange, but she does not seem to understand how evil Seino has gotten to this point. He wishes to meet Akitsu's parents and exchanges formalities with them. There is no resistance from them at all, and Akitsu really does look like her parents. She tells her mom not to get any tea for obvious reasons, and then they go to Akitsu's room. She wants to get to the point now that they are alone, but Seino does not know what she is planning, so he would like to use one of his items soon. He decides to show her an hourglass, which is the Shady hourglass. Akitsu suspects that Seino might do something, and she is correct about that because Bro turns it upside down to freeze time. Seino checks if Akitsu is actually frozen, and once he confirms it, he decides to make the most of the 30 minutes he has been given. Bro unleashes the Shady umbrella now, and he can use it on top of Akitsu for the entire duration. 10 minutes was enough for Natsuno, so this should be easy peasy lemon squeezy. Add her this, all of Akitsu's hatred towards Seino will vanish, and she will be in love with him. He also uses the Shady glove, just in case Akitsu does resist a bit. Doing this for 30 minutes will be more than enough for her to lose all sense of control and go crazy for Seino, who is once again in villain mode. He wonders how much his level will rise tonight, but we'll find out soon enough. The 30 minutes get done with, and all of a sudden, Akitsu is overwhelmed by all kinds of sensations. She does not know what is happening to her, but she figures it has to do with Seino. Either way, it's not like she can control it, because the moment Seino asks her if she is fine, she blushes a lot. There is a little bit of resistance, as Akitsu asks him what he did to her. She realizes that the hourglass must have stopped her thoughts and all her emotions, but before she can figure anything else out, Seino hugs her from behind. He asks if they are alone, but Akitsu doesn't know what he hopes to achieve here. Bro shows his intentions immediately, as he gives her a light tongue twister. Akitsu is taken aback, and she even considers Seino to be like her Oni-san now. She feels very happy, and figures that Natsuno must have been feeling the same way too. Akitsu seems to be aware of the fact that Seino has manipulated them both, but the only thing on her mind right now is how good this is feeling. It's a decent deal for Akitsu, because she is liking what is happening to her, but comic guzzlers would not recommend such methods for Riz. Now, Seino asks Akitsu if she would like to talk about Natsuno, but she does not care for it anymore. She simply wants to play elephants and kittens with Seino, and he has no problem with that. Akitsu celebrates as if it's the best thing ever, but then Seino tells her that her parents here. Even so, she does not want to be hindered, and she moves closer to our villainous hero. They decide to go somewhere a bit more discreet, but before that, Seino whispers something into Akitsu's ear. She is a bit surprised, but when Seino asks if she doesn't want to do it, she says she will follow all his orders. This is so different from her earlier attitude, so Seino has definitely won his battle. Now, Akitsu takes him to some shady hotel and asks what kind of room he would prefer. Our dubious hero takes some time, but eventually picks a room which is a bit too extra for Akitsu's liking. She can't say no, so she agrees but also asks for some time to cool down. Seino needs to make this count, so he plans out how he's going to do it. Now, we learn that Bro has chosen a dominatrix-type room with all kinds of punishment tools. He tells Akitsu it's time to get down to business, and then he mounts her on top of a cross. She feels it's a bit different from what she had in mind, but Seino wants to have fun. She asks what he is going to do to her, and Bro pulls out the ultimate move. He takes out a camera to record Akitsu, because that is something even she seems to enjoy. She is visibly nervous, and there are all kinds of toys too that are usually used for solo missions. Akitsu asks Seino if these things will be necessary, but he says that it's going to be fine. He starts with a buzzing egg, but Akitsu doesn't know if this is the way to do it. Seino says that some foreplay is important before moving ahead with the real deal, and even though Akitsu finds it weird, he still goes ahead. Her pillows are massive and just like how men of culture like them. She is a cup H, which is crazy, and she prefers to have Seino's hands than the toy. Bro does get a sense of heaven, but now it's time to play the game. He starts to tease Akitsu in all kinds of ways, and eventually gives her a few explosions on camera. Now, Bro shuts off the camera and tells Akitsu to lie down, as it's time for his elephant to come out and play. She is very happy, because she has been craving Seino for a while, and she gets into her birthday suit immediately. It's time for a proper session now, so Seino gives it his best. Akitsu's curvy body is way too much, and Seino makes the most of it. Akitsu is happy that she is with the villain boy, and says that Natsuno must have felt the same thing. After a while, the both of them are at their limits, so it's time to unleash elephant water and kitty water. She gets filled up, and now that the deed is done, Seino proudly tells us that there is no one to stand in his way now. He has all the 4 babes he was aiming for, so he has a proper harem too. With Haru, Natsuno, Fuyushim, and now Akitsu, Bro can fully focus on the dungeon now. We want to say it should have been me, not him, but would also like to state that we would rather be Seino minus the shady tools. Now, something really surprising happens, as Akitsu seems to get possessed by something. She creeps up behind Seino and tells him that she will be waiting for him at the lowest floor. Seino quickly turns around to see what's going on, and wonders if he has been found out or something. It has to be someone else because Akitsu is already here with him, Now, she faints onto the bed, which leads Sano to conclude that this was a completely different person. Could have been the voice of the dungeon, but either way, it does seem like something is awaiting him at the lowest floor. What exactly could this voice be? Is it some kind of final boss who is waiting for Sano to come and face him? With so many harem girls now, how is he going to make all of them work together with him? And can he actually confess to them to at least have some kind of respect in front of the audience? There's a lot more that we would like to discuss, but for now we have reached the end of the video. Like, share, and subscribe if you like your hero being super sus and not worth much respect. Sano has a lot more to do in this story though, so if you give the video enough views, I'll consider adding more chapters to the next upload so that you guys can at least see how the story ends. Okay then, I'll see you in the next one.